It can be really, really simple. The first life book that you do can just be a book that's about like this big, that one picture goes on each page. And it starts with when your son was born. You know, maybe it's in the hospital, and then it's pictures of birth family, and then it's just pictures to get your child used to who's in his life and the important pieces in his life. And then the story goes like this. Oh, look, you were born. You were born in the hospital. Look at this day. And then you can describe what's going on. You can look at the faces. You can talk about the feelings. And then you go to the next picture. You know, and then you talk about, I mean, there's probably a point in time where you'll be in front of a judge, and you can talk about adoption with a picture like that. So what you do is you create a chronology of events that are related to adoption. And it's very simple. You don't even need any words. Okay, I've just made it really easy for you guys to make your first book.
With all the anxiety about using the word adoption, I want to make a point that it's obvious that you might not be thinking about. Children are egocentric. So when you tell them that they are adopted, it becomes a normal part of their identity. It's not until about 5 that they, or even 4 or 5, that they realize everybody isn't adopted.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
At the beginning, they just think if they're adopted, that's the way it is. Okay, and it is, so at around 4 or 5 when they go to school and they might have a project at school where they learn families are formed in different ways, there's different ways to enter families. Okay, so it takes a while for them to get it. And then it's not until about 6 or 7 when they start to classify that they realize more people are with their biological family than are adopted. So at the beginning, the language has for you approach avoidance feelings. For them, it doesn't. It's a fact of their life.
Right.
And it makes it easier for you when the dots connect if you've laid all this groundwork. When people write a life book, it is the child's story rather than the parent's adoption story, your whole backstory. There's some talk about whether it should be told to the child or written in the child's voice. We do take a position as a counseling center that the child's voice is not the way to go for a couple of reasons. One, we are each unique human beings. We each know our own voice better than anybody else knows our voice. And I've had children come in here and share their life books. And I want to give you one example just to make the point. And feel some discordance between what their parents had written and how they feel. The mother made the most beautiful life book. She worked with a teacher at the Waldorf School who was an artist. It was creative, it was warm, it was gentle, it was beautiful. And she labored a lot over how to describe the feelings. And she really worked hard. She got a lot of help on it. But what happened was the little girl brought the book into me, and the mother was talking about how happy everything was at the time of the adoption. And she pointed to a picture where in Nepal they call the caregivers the Didis. And, you know, it's like something else in China, Ama.
It's Ai.
Ai, okay. And she said, you know, everyone's talking about how happy I am. She goes, I look terrified. And guess what? She was terrified. She was going from the nice hold of her comfortable caregiver to her new mom who had different color skin, new voice, different face she had never seen before, and everything. So new words, everything. So the only point I want to make is that from the center's perspective, I'm not happy using the child's voice for the first book. You may use it for a book you do with a child at 6 or 7 when the child is helping you write it. But for an early book, I'm of less is more and laying it out as a tableau to talk about adoption. And don't feel, because you're all at the beginning, that you need to know all that now, because we'll take you through the ages and stages over the course of the years.
One of the things that Joni touched on, and I think probably the most important thing that I'd like to talk with you guys here today about, is the tool that a life book is. And as Joni touched on, it is a tool both for us as parents and for our kids. The most important thing we can do as parents is to take the time to learn how all of this stuff makes us feel. Because we're going to get triggered by our children when they start dealing with how all of this stuff makes them feel. So the skeleton of the story that you tell is one of, here are the steps that got you to our family. Here are the people who've been in your life. Every child starts by being born. So if you start from a very fundamental and very simple place where you're creating a connection with your child, we are the same, but then there are places that we're different. So once we could see the transition things were really problematic to her, and I delved back further and found out some information, it gave me some tools to add to her story to help her understand what she was feeling and to give a name to it and to say, this is normal based on your experiences. Any other kid who had been through what you've been through would be reacting in just the same way. Mm-hmm. And that whole piece was power for her. Mm-hmm. So I think for the kids, our kids, to know that the feelings that they have, regardless of what they are, if you can find them in a book, if you can find somebody else who's had them, it normalizes it. And it makes it okay because someone else has done that. I'm not doing that alone. The other thing that you guys are going to discover that throughout life, there are all these wonderful teachable moments. And keep in mind, you can't do it wrong because you get another chance, another day, right? But seriously, I think that's probably the most empowering thing I want to give to you guys is that you really have an opportunity to bring this stuff up in ways that are just natural and normal. You might have to add, you leap a little bit, or, I brush my daughter's hair, it goes down to her waist, and I wonder, it's got red highlights and it is gorgeous. And I say to her, I wonder if your birth mother keeps her hair as long as yours. I wonder if it has the same color in it. It's just amusing, and I do it out loud. And she may respond, she may not. Holly Goulden calls that pebbling. You just drop a little thing out there. And what it does is it says it's safe to talk about this. That's your whole job, to make this safe and comfortable. And you know what? If you don't know the answer, that's okay. You guys can find the answer together. You can call someone, you can read a book, you can ask your child how they would like to solve that problem or what it makes them think about. It's a dialogue. It's a dance between the two of you. And again, there really are no right or wrong answers, I don't think, for the other kids.
So you've got about 4 or 5 years to get the job done. So all you're doing in these early years really is laying foundation, establishing vocabulary, getting comfortable with the vocabulary, and making very clear that home and parents are a safe place to talk about this.
Right.